Hi crafters, it's Margaret with Margaret Knob Designs. Before we get into the tutorial, I wanted to just do a little prelude to what I was thinking and doing, and I couldn't do this in front of the flip through because I did not have the information or one of the albums. So I bought two of these albums in my shopping from Craft Creations. One is the Heartfelt Creations 8x8 Insta album, and one is this photo play. It's like a flip and pocket album, and you can see there's directions on the back. So what I decided is I would like to do going forward for the next couple projects that I'm going to be doing is trying some different types of folios or from different manufacturers. One other one that I want to try is 49 in Market has some pre-made folios. It's not because I don't like to make them, quite honestly. I love to make I like to make albums. It's one of my favorite things. I don't know whether it's the repetitive nature of it or what, but I'm starting to do that where I make mine in advance so I have them ready to go. But I just wanted to try some different options so that I can share that with you, and I can try it out, test it out, and see what I think of it. So I'm going to for sure do this one and then this one by Photoplay. There actually is other designs of the Photoplay. This one was this number 3? Folio 3 kit. So I've never used this before, so I'm really not sure how it's all going to work or go together. The one that I am actually going to use for this project is the Heartfelt Creations one. And what I really like so far about this, what I'm seeing, now I haven't worked with it yet, is that they have the measurements right on all these areas. So, you know, all I have to do is go, if I'm just covering it with just pattern paper, I would measure that 7 and 7/8, and that would be my cover here. This is 3 by 8, so 2 7/8 by 7 7/8. You know, it's all right there for me. And here they have the measurements right here, measurements right there. It's pretty nice. And then they also have where the magnets should go. They don't provide you with the magnets, but they put the spots where your magnets should go. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to do this as standard as possible, like not make any changes on my own. If I make a change to anything, what I may do is I may make this a pocket and this a flap over it rather than making it another flap. I may do that, but I'm not going to change it out too much. This section right here, I for sure am going to make that a pocket. I know that already, but I'm going to go ahead and do this pretty standard to the way they have it laid out, just because I don't want to change up things too much. Like when I say change it up, they're like on this section over here, I was thinking about, do I want to cut some of this off and use it as other flips and flaps and other spots? But I thought what I should really do is to do pretty standard how this album is, and you can get an idea of what it looks like. Like this has those flaps going out like that. And I may add a flap here or there to, like, let's say I wanted to use this flap and make it look like an envelope. I could try that, or if I want to add a pocket down here in the bottom, I might do that, but I'll look at that as I go along. I want to keep it pretty standard to the design of this album because, like I said, I want you to be able to see it for what it really is. This has got a nice couple of flaps right in here, and you can see where there's actually spots for magnets again, and I'm going to have to look at that because I'm not sure. Oh, well, I suppose that would be good if I don't know. I'm going to have to look at that and see where that all goes. And then they've got more magnets in there, so I'm not really sure how that all goes. I'm going to have to read through the directions, but I wanted you to see real quickly what this looks like. Yeah, here we go. I didn't know quite where I was. And so then on here, there is, you know, it looks like that. You can see what it looks like on the back, and fold out pages. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one today, and then I was going to use my Prima collection, but I thought the tones of this collection, which is a Country Craft Creation collection, which is a design team package for me, I thought these papers would work really well with this craft album, and so that's why I'm going to use this collection first. So stay tuned for the tutorial. It's following this. I would have done the walkthrough prior to this, and I'll see you on the other side of the tutorial. Thanks so much. Alrighty. Okay, I wanted to just stop here and talk to you a little bit about covering the album. So what I started to do was to cut a matting on this cover. Now this said that it was 8 by 8, so before I even measured it, I took a look at this, and what this is the 8 by 8 is what they want you to cut your pattern paper as, not like that's the size of this cover, because the size of this cover is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And same thing with this. This was cut at it says 3 by 8. And so what I'm going to do with my cover, I like to put my pattern paper on my cover and around my book. I won't decorate this till the end, but I like to put that on first so that I know kind of what direction I'm going on the cover. And this cardstock is, oh my gosh, like my colors cardstock. And it's the shimmery one. And this one is called Irish Creme. And I put it on the flap here on these side. The reason why I have them on here, you may or may not be able to see that, but there's a little bit of bend right in here from this spine. So I actually am going to do the inside and the outside with double matting so that I can firm this spine up a little bit. I'm only going to do double matting throughout the album on the covers. I'm not going to do it all the way inside. I'll show you one other spot for sure that I'm going to do it, but it's really for strength on it. So I've got my double-sided papers on here, and I've tried as much as I can to match those lines up all the way along. I didn't do so hot on the back here. I wish I would have pushed that out a little bit further, but you know what? It's just fine. And on this part of the cover, I chose, this is not, you don't have to necessarily do this, but I just wanted to put my larger magnets in here and have more coverage on that. So I'm also going to put this matting onto here. So that'll be on there, and then we're going to have pattern paper on there as well. And if I open this up, I have the Creme cardstock in there, and I will put that Irish Creme in here as well, because you could maybe see a little bit that there's some bending in there, and I wanted to tighten that up a little bit. The rest of this, I am going to just use the pattern paper. I'm not going to double mat. I like to double mat, but it's just a lot of cardstock when you're doing this many flips and flaps, and I don't think it's always necessary, I guess I would say. So I wanted to catch you up to speed on that. So this matting on the front is 8 by 8. This is 3 by 8. And I'm going to go all the way around. This one is 1.5 by 8. And this is 8 by 8. And 1.25. Excuse me, it's not 1.25. The spines are 1.5 by 8. So 1.5 by 8, 1.5 by 8. And then when I go to do my pattern paper on here, my pattern paper is going to be, I usually do 1/8 of an inch, but I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to see how I like that with it being that way on the cover. And if I don't like it, then I'm going to go back to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my paper or collection for this. And then I will show you when I've got this cover all covered. I don't want to, I'm sorry, I hope that this works okay for you. I don't like to keep you sitting and waiting for me just for gluing something down. If I change something throughout this album, I will show you what I'm changing or what I'm doing. But otherwise, I'll bring you back to show you kind of step by step where I'm at with things. So I'm going to go to get my cardstock on here and start laying out my plan for the rest of the album. Thank you. Hi. Well, here I have the cover done, and I used this paper collection, or this is the paper that I used with the bunnies or the chicks on the back. So I did that all the way around. I didn't do the front or inside yet, but then I did that through there, and then I did a green complementary design paper in the back, but I did both, this all the way across throughout. And on this one, what I did is I took the flower from up here, and then I made sure that I could take that flower from down here and put that on there. So that way it gave me some depth to my cover. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do with the cover yet, but I've got time to think about that. I'm not going to work on that right now. So the other thing that I did, and I honestly don't know how or why all this works, I'll be honest with you, but I came in here and I put my magnets in, matching them up with, this was number 2, this was number 2, this was number 1. So I put the magnets so that they all tied to the right magnet number that I was supposed to, but I'm not 100% sure if they're really going to work that way. So I'm just going to watch for that when I put it together and just see how it all works. So, because there's more magnets on here than I would normally do. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and do with what they're directing me to do, and we'll kind of figure it out from there. And I will come back once I've got this first section done, tell you about what I did and how I did it. So this is one that I would say, remember I said I was maybe do a pocket out of this, but I don't think I'm going to do a pocket because of the magnets right here. We'll have paper over it, but things might get stuck going in. I'll have to think about that a little bit and try out and see about putting some things in. So I'm going to get going on cutting this cardstock, and I'm just going to follow by the measurements. So if this says 4 by 8, I'm going to do a 4 by 8. And of course, if I mat this, I'll do the same thing. I'm sorry if you can't see. The back side of it, if I mat it, it's the same measurements, and I will go and do that all the way through. Alrighty. We'll see you in a little bit. Hey crafters. Well, I did go around and added my pattern paper for the first half of the album. I just have the second half to do, and I will come back and show you what that is. And then after that, what I will do is I'm going to go back and I will put the rest of the embellishments and things like that on it, and that I will show you in the final walkthrough. So on the front here, you can see that I used this pattern paper and this complementary paper on the back. And like it said, is the original cut on these were in the white paper were 8 by 8. So these in here were 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I kept it with a 1/4 inch distance on my paper. Normally I use 1/8, but I used a 1/4 because that's what this album started out with. So, and then if you open this up, you can see the papers that I put in here, and I mixed some of the floral with the eggs, and I took specifically this paper here because it had some of the tones of the colors over here, but it also started going into the blues, and that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to make this section more of a blue section. And then in the hinges, or the spine, sorry, the spine along here and spine along here, I also double matted those. You might remember earlier that I said that I wanted to add some strength to these, so that's why I double matted those. And this section, or this side, is a little bit more green and peach, and there might be hints of other colors in there as well, but that was the main idea of these papers. So let me move this over just a little bit so you can see it easier. I have the bunny papers. I'm not sure about putting any paper on here on the inside yet. I've got to determine whether I'm going to do that or not. And then this is the next part of the section, and I took this and put some of the egg paper in here and spots for the photos. I only did that in a couple of spots where I thought it would work well to break up some of the colors and patterns. Hopefully I got that in camera, but not too many, because I like to have the opportunity to make a decision about where I want things to go when I'm putting pictures down, so I didn't have as much. And then back here I have the complementary paper that matches our bunny paper, and it's just flap. And then I incorporated this plainer paper that had some of the darker tones in it as well. And then if we go to this section, we open this up, and I've got more of this bunny paper with the complementary paper down here. Now I also took one of the ephemera pieces right there, and actually the reason why I did that was because, first of all, it worked well with this, but second of all, I for some reason had a little cut out of here, and I really wanted to put this paper down here, so I just covered it up with one of the pieces of ephemera that I think works really well with it. And then this, I open this up, and it's just another flap that comes down, and it's our bunnies again with a spot for a photo. There is a lot of this being done, but I think that it works well for this, and it keeps the color pretty consistent all the way throughout. And I'm going to spice it up a little bit with some of the ephemera and some of the different items to go with that. Now, the only other thing that I wanted to make note of is that there is more magnets in and along here, and I'll be honest with you, this is a magnet I believe I added on here that wasn't even a part of it. There was a magnet here that's a part of that, and I'm not sure if I needed all those other magnets in here, really, because this would have held everything down, and then these magnets are on top. So you might want to, if you choose this this mini album to purchase from Heartfelt Creations, I would take a look at where the magnets are, because most of these, as you go through, you know, this pretty much closes it up pretty tight, and this closes it up pretty tight again. So there is a magnet, yeah, I've got a magnet right back here, and then this comes down, and then in here there's a magnet in the, like right in, where is it? Right in here, sorry, right in here. And so that actually closes that down pretty nicely too. We'll see how strong it is once I get all the papers on it, or the collections on it. So this is what I've got started so far with the papers on here. I'm going to finish putting, like I said, the papers on the other side of this album, and then we'll come back together so you can see that, and you can see which pattern paper I used. And then what I'll do is I'll finish up all the decorations, and then you can see the rest of everything when I get all the decorations and ephemera on there. I will go fairly simple because, again, I want to keep to this album, and I don't want to put like flowers and things like that in the midst of this album, but I will use some ephemera and possibly some other photo, you know, photo frames. Gosh. So anyways, I will see you back in a few minutes for the back of this, and then we'll be on the final walkthrough. Thanks so much. We'll see you in a little bit. Hi crafters. Well, welcome back. So this is going to be the final showing of what I did with the papers and how I put them together. So we talked about these sections in the last little bit, and then we go to this section, and this section comes out like this, and I'm going to start on this side all the way. So I used the blue with the lilies in there, and I tried to pick up some of the blue here and some blue in here, as well as the green coming back into play in these. And then I used a plain blue mat on here, and I probably am going to put something like a photo frame or something else on there. And then I did the same thing over here, plain blue mat. This is the lamb pattern paper. And then this right here is a pocket. I did, that was a, that was a small flap. So I'm going to be putting a booklet or some tags or something in there. I haven't really decided yet. But that's trying to play with the beige, the greens, and the blues. And we come over to this section, and when we come over to this section, we have the blues and beiges and greens in there as well. And we've got our little bunnies in there. And then I've picked this up from here to here, just trying to carry some of the pattern and everything over. And then this is another pocket right here, and we will be putting something inside that. And then this comes around like that, and we'll go into this section, and this section has some of the green, and we open it up and it's got some of the blue in the inside here too. And what I did with this is I cut some of the paper with the solid blue, and then I took one of the border strips across there. And then this comes down, and we've got the plain blue with a photo mat, and we've got our little lambs on here. And if we go back to the middle section, I'm playing into more of the greens in here. So I have part of that green paper on this side with their photo mats. And then I used the black in here with the bunnies, this bunny with this green in here. That comes down. Let's see if I can get this all the way. If you can see that. The bunnies played off in from up and top to here to our little egg people over here. So in trying to make all the colors work, it does look like I've got some repetitive patterns, but I think you'll see how that'll even continue to play better as I get the rest of the ephemera in there. And that goes in like that, and that's like that. But opening this up is really beautiful all the way going across. As I said before, I'm still not sure if I'm putting something in there. I probably will, but I've got to think about it first. So in some ways, and the reason why I'm thinking about it is because sometimes with these smaller pieces, like there's an edge along here, or edges along here or here, the pattern papers don't like to stay on there very well. Sometimes they can curl and they can bend. So sometimes it's better just to leave them plain because they're a bit unnoticeable. So that's why I'm still thinking about it. Alrighty, so that is the end of showing through the walkthroughs and where I've added things and what I've done with it. I hope that this was good and not repetitive, but I am going to come back, well, I'm going to do a walkthrough in either the beginning of this video, you've already seen it, or I will do it in another video that will come out at the same time as this. So I thank you for watching. It's just always a pleasure to hear what you think. And then I'm going to be coming back with the other album with one of my other collections, and we'll see how that goes. So thanks so much, everybody. And please stop by Country Craft Creations. Have a great night.